morning, friends. I am so glad that you're here with me today for this week's Heartfelt Friday card. And I had forgotten how much that I just loved this particular set. It wasn't my very first Heartfelt creation set, but it was right up there in the beginning. And it was also the first set I got when I got my Copic markers. So I spent a lot of time practicing coloring with this set. And so preparing for this card just really brought back some great memories. So okay, let's go ahead and switch our camera view and take a look at what we're going to make today. All right, so here it is. I named this card Something Fishy, and this is the Undersea collection from Heartfelt Creation, and I just love how it turned out. So I made this big window in the middle, but it's not a shaker, but I made a little shaker right here on this little section right here, and I'm just really happy with the way it all came together. So let's look at the different products that I used in order to make this. Sorry, I have this here just to prop it up to kind of help with the glare, because when it was flat, it's all glare. We're going to have quite a bit of glare today because there's a lot of acetate on this card, and that no matter how I do my lighting, it always affects it with acetate. Okay, so besides the Undersea collection, we'll be using several stamps and dies from the Undersea collection. I'm also using the simple centerpiece die, so that is the main die that we'll be using, and I'm using specifically the third one in and the fourth one in. So that's these two right here. And then I'm also using a couple sheets of paper from the paper pad. These two come from the same page, and it is one of those pages that have the 4 quadrants that are just smaller versions of the bigger pages. So you can find that one if you happen to have this paper collection still. If you don't have any of this paper collection, just flip through your collections, that the paper pads that you do have, and find similar colors that, you know, it doesn't, the part where it shows the fish and the flowers, that's not super necessary to the card. So if you just picked a blue or teal from another set, that would work just fine. And then I chose a hot pink as the background for this particular card. On my original, I used an orange. So again, however you choose to color your images, just pick a piece that coordinates with your fish. All right, so I did go around each of these with ink. This one I went around with Pucker Up, which is a Catherine Pooler ink. And then on these two, I went around with the Skylight. And of course, whatever inks you have, you can ink your edges with just whatever you like best. All right, so I did use one piece of the Deluxe Gold for this. Actually, I used more like a half a piece for the Deluxe Gold. And I used my 2 hexagons that I chose to make this frame. And then for the larger one, I cut out our 1 aqua piece, and I also cut out a piece of acetate. So that needs to be the size of the larger of the 2 hexagons that you're using. All right, now I did pull in a couple things from other companies, and one of them is this new company that I found last weekend, and I just love their products. They're so cool. This is a place called This Calls for Confetti, and they carry everything you need to glitter your cards or to add those shaker elements. They have little clay, you know, the little resin clay doodads that you can put inside a shaker. They have little funfetti bags with just every color combination you can imagine. But what I really love that they have are all different kinds of shaker pouches. And so this one is like a little dome, and I think there's 5 in a set if I'm counting right. They're kind of all stuck together, but I've used one. I think this is 4 and there's 3 more. So I'm going to see if this one has a size. They come in all different sizes and shapes. But this one, I'll measure it for you, but they're very reasonably priced. This one is the 2.5 little round dome. And like I said, you can get rectangles, you can get squares, and these domes, I just thought this dome was perfect to use with our little porthole stamp. So, all right, these are one of the things we're going to use. And then I'm also bringing in a couple stamp sets, and these are from the Stamps of Life. And I've had these for years, but I remember when I bought this one, I specifically bought it to use with this collection because I just liked having more fishy sayings to use than what comes with the Heartfelt collection. I liked having some of these other fishy sayings. So that there's quite a bit here. For my original here, I used the Fishy Kisses and Birthday Wishes. But for this particular one, I'm going to use one fish, two fish, make a wish. All right, let's get on to our images. So we'll need to cut out and color the porthole and the little inside of the porthole. This stamps together and then die cuts separately. We'll need one of the large underground flowers, and like I said, I colored all of these up using Copic markers. Now you can use whatever color medium that you would like to use. I'm going to demo one, but I just sat and had fun coloring these fish images. I'm not sure I'm going to use this fish, I just happen to have him, and then I have a couple different jellyfish here, and then I also have 3 of the little leaves. So I'm not going to use all of these on my card. I believe this one we don't use, and of course we'll just choose one or the other of the jellyfish. Okay, so let me show you. I stamped all of these in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is a Copic friendly ink, so I stamped all my images in that. So some people are really kind of scared off by the Copic coloring because there are so many pins and so many blending, and you know, there's video after video online of how to do it, but it is really not hard. Okay, I am going to share with you how I do it, and believe it or not, I'm a very basic colorer. I'm not like you know, some hugely skilled with this. I can just kind of do the basics. So I'm going to show you how I did it. I picked 2 colors, and for his fins, I'm going to go with these pinks. So I picked a dark, a medium, and a light pink. And sure, there's color charts and things together, but if you just make yourself a template where you can see all the different colors of the different, just pick 3 that you like, that you think will go together, that are, you know, in the same color family. Now there's ways of doing it by going by the numbers and picking 2 away and stuff like that. I just look at my chart where I have them colored out and pick 3 that I like together. You know, I like to keep it simple. Okay. Then I did the same with the greens. I picked a dark, a medium, and a light. And, oops, yeah, that's the right way. And that is how I'm going to do the fish's body. So I'm going to start with his fin. And I like to start with my lightest color. And I'm just going to color his whole fin in this lighter color. Okay, now, when I'm coloring, it's like a relaxing, enjoyable thing for me. So sometimes I may color, it may take me 5 minutes an image, it may take me 10 minutes or 2 minutes. It just depends. I just have fun with it, and like I said, I can get kind of in a coloring zone where I just kind of space out. I'll try not to do that here in the video because you'll need me, but I just kind of disappear into it. I just love to sit and color. You could say it's an escape sometimes, but okay, so I use my lightest color, then I'm going to come in with my darker color, and I'm just going to put these darker kind of flicks with my pen, and I'm going to start right here where I think that darkest shadow is, and most of Heartfelt Creations images are going to show you where that is by how they draw it, and I'm just going to kind of flick out. Whoops, there. Just like that. Now you can see there's a huge contrast. So while it's still wet, I'm going to come in with my medium and I'm going to go over it and flick that out even further. See that? Now I'm going to come in with my lightest again and just go over those edges until I feel like they are blended the way I want them. All right. And that is how I kind of go about getting that shadow down in there. Now, on my blue one here, you can kind of see maybe I've added shadow down in some other places. I'm not going to do that right now, but I did it the exact same way. I color it with my light, then I add in just my little bit of dark shadows, then I go over it with my medium and my light again to just blend that out. So let's go ahead and kind of do his body. And I do it in the pretty much the same way. Now I wanted his face to be the lightest thing on my card, or on my fish, so I'm not going to touch it anymore. That's the color his face is going to remain. Alright. Now I'm going to come in with this one and add just some of those shadows around where I think they would be, kind of coming up from his tail, maybe up on top here, down by his fin. And you can even trace the little, what do you call those? His little scales. Scales. And now I'm going to come in with my medium and just kind of blend that out wherever I put the dark. And then come back with my light and go over those edges. Like I said, I'm not touching his face again because I want his face to be the lightest thing on the card. So that is how I go about Copic coloring my images. Let's see there. I'm going to show you this one. Now you can see in this one I came back with lots of different colors and kind of put highlights and things like out on the edges. You just do that how you like it. Now you will, when it comes to little detailed coloring like that, you don't necessarily blend. I don't. You just color that with your markers like you would any markers. So okay, that is my very short demonstration on how I go about coloring. And like I said, I am not an expert Copic colorer. I'm more of just a crafting marker colorer, but I do love my Copics. All right, so to get started, we are going to need to make ourselves a card base. And this one needs to be 6.5 by 6.5 white card base. So it's actually going to take 2 of my hammer mill 12 by 12 pieces. And I'm going to cut that 6.5 by 12 to begin. Oops, let me get that down. 6.5 here. And then this one, I'm going to cut it to 7 in the other direction. I'm going to lay it right here, keeping it that same orientation. Now this one, I'm going to do that again. You know what? Is my arm open all the way? Yeah. Thought it was a little crooked there. I was like, oh no, don't be crooked. There we go. Okay. Get it at 6.5. And this one is just going to be a 6.5 by 6.5. So now I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and this piece that we cut to 7, I'm going to put it in my scoreboard and go ahead and give myself a score line right there at the 1/2 inch mark. A lot of times I have this done beforehand, but today I decided to just do it all together, right? So if you're working along with me, you can just do it right along at the same time. So, okay, now that I have this, I'm just going to add some glue here on my flap. So tell me in the comments, I know we're not live, but tell me in the comments if you have the Under the Sea collection and do you just love it? It had been a while since I had pulled it out, and I'm so glad that I did. It had just been a while. Okay, now I'm just going to set this one right inside, get it all squared up. There we go. And then just bring this down. Now, I'm going to put this seam on the front of my card because I know in my final design, this entire front is going to be completely covered up with lots of layers, so nobody's going to see this seam. All right, so there we've got our card base ready to go. And we'll set that aside. Well, we don't have to set it all the way aside. Let's go ahead and add our base pieces on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue these two onto the front of my card. So I don't know where you are in the world. You can definitely let me know there in the comments, but Texas has been just over the top hot. I mean, we're always kind of hot in Texas, but let me tell you, this has like been a new level of hot. So it's been over 100 for several days. Maybe we're going on weeks now. So I was just I can't even sit out on my back porch and enjoy it through most of the day because it's just so incredibly hot. And we have a little water feature in our backyard that we can get in, and even the water, it's like getting in a warm bathtub because it's just so hot. So we try to go out earlier in the morning, but the rest of the day it's been too hot to even enjoy. So that just was making me think it would sure be nice to go to the beach, you know. So that's why I reached for my Under the Sea collection. Thinking of the beach made me think, ooh, I'm going to use the Under the Sea collection. So anyway, that's kind of how that came about in the crazy workings of my head. So I was so glad that I did because I love this collection. It's an oldie but a goodie. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip that around. I want to put this on. If you do have these same papers, this is how I kind of oriented things, but like I said, and it's kind of nice that the stripes on this paper make it pretty easy to get that straight on there. Okay, so now that I'm at this point, I'm going to set this aside for a moment, and I'm going to get my piece of acetate that I cut and my gold frame. And on my gold frame, I went ahead and used some double-sided adhesive that is 1/8 inch wide. Y'all, I'm so bad with numbers. In my last video that I did for Heartfelt, I referred to 1/8 as 1/18 of an inch over and over and over. My husband has been teasing me all week that, that little hash mark in there, just ignore that. I'm sorry. This is 1/8. So those of you that can read my dyslexic mind, it's 1/8, not 1/18. But that we just got a kick out of that because my family knows how my brain works. Sometimes it doesn't always make sense. There we go. So we will pull this off. That's just, I lined it with double-sided adhesive there. And I'm just going to add my acetate right perfectly on top. Remember, it's the exact same size. So if you line up one edge, it should just fall into place all the way around. Now, if you do get it off a little bit, you can just come back with your scissors and trim that off. But as long as we're not making this a shaker, so really if it's not 100% covered, it's okay. So, all right, so now that we have this piece, we'll set that aside, and we are ready to, oh, you know what, we can't set it aside yet. The next thing we're going to do is use our thin 1/8 inch foam strips, and we're gonna put one layer of that all the way around this gold frame. And I have found with this real thin stuff, if you put your finger right where you want the bend to be, you can just turn it. You don't have to cut all those little strips. You can just put your finger right there where you want the bend to be and turn it, and it works just fine. So another thing I noticed when I was making this card is I rarely color my images with markers when it comes to Heartfelt. I almost always use the foam exclusively. Now when I'm making flowers, I love using the ink and the little foam daubers. I think that gives the flowers a really soft blended look to them, and I like that. It's more of a petal look than I can get with my markers. But I really enjoyed coloring these images with my markers. All right, I am going to, now we can set this aside now that we have our foam on the back. So let's bring back our card base. And the next thing we're going to do is decide where we're going. Sorry, can you hear me? I was looking the other way. We're going to decide, just kind of place our images inside how we want them. So this is one of my favorite fish, and I'm going to put him kind of right down here. I know that I want my porthole kind of up here in this corner, and this will go inside. I'm going to put these on the outside, I think. And so now comes, this also will go on the outside of my dome. Do we want the red jellyfish or pink, or do we want the kind of purpley jellyfish? I could not decide for the life of me. I guess it doesn't really matter. Of course, we've got several purples here that it matches, but I think pink kind of matches more in my card. So it's like I don't like the yellow and orange fins. When I colored these, I had no idea what colors I was going with. So I think I'm going to go with the pink. I don't know, because when we add all of our pink flowers and things, maybe I want a contrast. I did this over and over last night. I was like, I could not decide. So I don't think it'll matter all that much when we get to the end. So I'm just going to go with that, because I think I like the contrast with the flowers rather than the same. Okay, so I did add some thin foam to the back side of these inside my dome. Let me grab my pieces here. So I'm just going to very lightly pop these up. And that's the wrong foam. All right, I'm just going to use this same because I seem to have misplaced those, so that's okay. I'm using the same foam that I used for the outer edge and adding just a couple pieces of that. Like, they don't need to be like super popped up because they're going to be underneath that dome. And I'm just going to, with my fingers, kind of add some shape to his body there. And I'm leaving it all laid out while I place him. I'm putting him just a little bit at an angle, but make sure that he's about a 1/4 inch from your edge, because you need to have room to set your piece on top. You know, you don't want to put him too far out because he's popped up and that would interfere. All right, so same with this guy, and I'm pretty much just putting that right on his body. And I'm going to place him just right in there. And same thing, you just want to get all of him at least a 1/4 inch from the edge of the card. All right, now this piece is going to go on top. So in my original, I did not do this, but I thought it would be fun, so I am going to do it in this one. I'm going to get out my little tray here and get out some of my little decorative pieces. And in the confetti that I chose, there's little silver ones. So I want to make some little bubbles coming from my fish. So I'm just going to add 2 or 3 dots there, and I'm going to add some of these silver discs in here to give that a look of bubbles coming up from our fish. Let's see, what other sizes do I have here? I think I'll go a little bit smaller as I go up. All right. So just a little added thing you can do if you want to do that. You can use your gems or however. I believe on my original, I didn't do it on the inside, so I added them on the outside of the acetate, but I thought if I had thought of it sooner, I would have done it on the inside. So, okay, at this point, we are ready to add our window. Now, one thing at this point, if you want your fish to have glitter on them, now would be the time to do that. So when you use glitter, if you don't have time to let it dry completely and then you're going to add your window, if that glitter just kind of sucks up and adheres to your window. So on these fish, I glittered them the night before and they had plenty of time to completely dry. So I'm not going to glitter these, but I do really like them glittered. And I highly recommend glittering them first before you use them. But if I do it right now, as soon as I put this on, it's going to like get all over the acetate. And I know that from experience. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the glittering on this one that I'm doing live, but I'm going to definitely encourage you to glitter them because it looks really nice that way. I had to cut his tail a little bit because I did get it just a little bit where I needed to put my frame. All right. I think that's about right. Oops, I did get it off just a little bit. I didn't want to put my head up. I got it off right up here. So if that happens to you, we're going to be putting our frame right up here. So that's where you want to get it off. And I can easily add some of my flowers and stuff up there. But I didn't want to get my head in the camera. I should have, because I did get it off just a little bit. All right, so when we put this down, I'm only going to add foam right up here where it goes off of my frame. On the other side, I'm going to add glue. It right here, and then just about that far on there. Now I'm going to add glue to the rest of my frame. My little porthole frame, and we're going to add this in the little upper corner. So I wanted to show you, I know I've got this all glued, but, whoops, on this, it's a little too big to go through there, but this is completely clear when you take the tape off. So I'll show you how I went about doing this. All right, just gonna decide about right there is good. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. We're going to add this little piece, and all of my images, my colored images, I did add glitter to those. All right, so I put in this piece. Now I'm going to add a little pile of my confetti, and I'm sorry for the glare. Okay, now this particular confetti has some large balls that are rolling around here, so I'm going to try to get those to stay in the middle. And just because they're rolling around, I'm going to take a few of those out. A few stayed, so I'm going to definitely leave those. I like them. I'm just afraid they're going to roll off. So here we go. I'm going to add just a few more of these. Okay, so we piled it all right there in the middle. And now these wonderful little domes that you can buy from This Calls for Confetti, it has your adhesive already on there. So I'm just going to pull that off and set it right perfectly over the top of my porthole window. And boom, there we go. We have our shaker element. Wasn't that easy? And I love that dome with the porthole. I just thought that was the perfect use for that. All right, so now we're just going to add our sentiment and our florals, kind of extra decorations all around. And this something fishy card will be complete. Let me find my, here he is. So I had my sentiment down in this corner before, but this one looks like he will definitely cover up my fish's face. So I think I will put it down here in this corner. And again, just like I did up here, I'm only adding foam to the side that has the, that will go off the edge of my larger window. And I'm just going to attach that right here. So this one will be a birthday card. Oh, the other one was a birthday card too. It had a different expression. So for our piece here, I did cut these all apart. So there's kind of some natural places where you can trim those apart. And there we go. And then for this one over here, just kind of trim him off like this. All right, so from here we can just kind of decide how we want our flowers to be. Maybe here, I may have to trim this one a bit more because he's a little too big. I had him down in this corner before, but I think I want him kind of up here. Maybe down here, but I'm gonna have to trim him a bit more because he's too big. All right, yeah, I think down here, I like him down here, and we're gonna add some of the greenery back in there just to give that more. Maybe like this. And then I kind of like the way this one curves. We'll put it up in this corner. Some of these that I cut off, I think will look fun around my sentiment. I'm kind of trying to keep it all on, maybe up in here. I'm trying to keep it all on my card because I want to be able to put this in an envelope. And I will have to custom make my envelope because it's not going to fit in a regular envelope. I'm going to go ahead and trim these apart, and no two cards come out exactly the same. So, you know, I always change it up a little bit when I'm making them live from how I originally designed it. My intentions are always to do it the exact same, but it hardly ever works out that way. So I don't like that up there. I think that's too much. But I do like this piece down here somewhere, I think. Needs a little balance. I'm going to add some greenery in there as well. So you're kind of seeing my process here. This is the way I do it. I just kind of keep moving them around and playing with them until I decide I get it to a way that I like it. So I am cutting most of these leaves apart so that I can kind of tuck them in where I want them. To get them to lay where I want them, I'm just trimming them so they fit right up against the, don't know if I like that up there. I might like it better down here. I don't know. All right, we'll go ahead and glue down our flowers or pop them up. This one, I'm going to pop up just the floral part. And my glue down here to the just the base pieces. Now, one thing that I didn't do for this particular card, because I just forgot all about it, is I did use my shaping mat to add some shape to my flowers and my leaves. I totally forgot about that, but I did that on my original. So, you know, you can get out your shaping mat and your stylus and, you know, add some dimension to these leaves and to these flowers. This one I haven't done yet. We can add some to that. And then for these curlicues, I just kind of pressed around, but I did give dimension to those. Sorry, I was off camera the whole time I did that. The camera space when I do it on my own channel is a little smaller than the space that I normally use, and I totally forgot. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add our foam. So this card was just a really fun card to make. I highly encourage you that if you have the Under the Sea collection, that you give this one a go. And of course, there's seahorses. Instead of the jellyfish, you could have put a seahorse in there. There's other fish that this would just be one that you could decorate it up different every time you make it. If you have never been to This Calls for Confetti, it's a really fun website. You can head over there and check that out. Oh, didn't glue this piece yet. And I found it to be very reasonably priced. And get yourself some pieces to make yourself a little shaker card there. Isn't that just fun? I love it. And I love how both of them turned out. Now that is definitely something fishy. So you can see how the glitter really adds underneath there. So I definitely recommend glittering them the night before and having that extra glitter on your card. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed today's project. It was a really fun summery birthday cards to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my camera back. All right, well, thank you for joining me for today's Heartfelt Friday. It's been a fun one, and wherever you are in the world, stay cool and keep crafting for the fun of it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.